Just a quick disclaimer before listening to this week's episode, please check your trigger warnings below in the podcast description.
Welcome to the Book Tea with V.
Welcome back to this week's episode of the Book Tea with V. It's been a massive week and I am so ready for the weekend. But as always, let's start and let's talk some pop culture. Now, there actually wasn't going to be any pop culture today, but I came across a TikTok with none other than Mr. Darcy in it. So there was an interview from CBS Morning, I believe, and they were interviewing Matthew McFadden, who was Mr. Darcy in the Pride and Prejudice adaptation. I think it was around 2005, but the one with Keira Knightley. You all know the one. And they were basically asking him like, how did you find that iconic role? This man, he was like, you know what? I didn't really enjoy it. And that just hurts my soul. Like, obviously, I get it from his point of view. It was all the pressure around the role. And so that side I get. But I just hope that he knows that there are so many people around the world that still find a handheld moment to be one of the most precious, intimate moments of cinema history. That's all I've got to say. So what's the book tea this week? We actually have a few items this week. So number one, Shantel Tessier came out with a bit of a spoiler for Madness. Now, I know people have been waiting for this one for such a long time. Now, I believe we're going to get a cover reveal and a blurb reveal on the 9th of August. But this Spade Brother is going to be Hayden's book. So we got a couple of spoilers there. Let's see what happens. Let's wait until the 9th. And then we had Brynne Weaver grace us with some wacky trigger warnings for Scythe and Sparrow. Let me just read them out to you. Okay, so we have eyeballs, eyelids, cotton candy. Can we have nothing? I don't think I've had ice cream since I read Butcher and Blackbird. And that's just the truth of it. Clowns, sexy clowns. Yes, there's clearly a difference. Impaling, grumpy raccoon, and staple guns. There is just something about Brynne Weaver books. They're just so different to anything I've ever read. They're so much fun. I'm so excited for this one. But most excitingly for me is the fact that Fourth Wing now has a showrunner. So Amazon is going to be picking it up as a TV series. I believe the showrunner is Moira Walley-Beckett. Again, I can't pronounce anything, so I'm so sorry if I got that wrong. But I'm so excited. I believe that this series, this book could be an amazing series. If it's done right, it will be incredible. Like, it always takes me back to Eragon. So they were a series of books. And when they made it into a movie, I loved it. People hated it. They slammed it. It's still one of my comfort reads, actually. And it's still one of my comfort movies. So look, I have full faith. I believe it's going to be amazing. And if it isn't, we'll all just be devastated together. So what have I been reading? So the first book that I read this week was Beautiful Beast by Neva Altaj. Now, this is the first book in her second gen series. She never disappoints. And this is like a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Age gap, I give it 4 stars and 3 chilies. And then I read The Bonus by TL Swan. Honestly, just thinking about it just makes me swoon. This book, 5 stars easily, 3.5 chilies. And just know this book has everything. Spice was great. The plot was unreal. I cried. I laughed. The banter. TL Swan just has this magic way of weaving stories that have such good humor, but so much heart as well. I can't speak more highly of this book. So it follows Gabriel and Gracie. Now, Gabriel is a billionaire. He's a bachelor. And you've got Gracie, who's his PA. They've been working together for years, but she's in love with him. She realizes, you know what? This is never going to be reciprocated. So I'm going to move on with my life. He, in TL Swan man fashion, has the massive tantrum. But, they let things go. They have a one-night stand, ends in tragedy, move on for a few years. That's all I'm going to say. Go in blind. You will not be disappointed. Now, this week, I did say that I was going to read Quicksilver by Callie Hart because every single person on booktok is raving about it. However, I am still only about 55% in. I'm struggling. It's been days. So the first 15%, I was like, is it me? Am I the problem? I just couldn't get my head around it and I wasn't connecting with the characters too much. Then at about 30%, I was like, picking up. I'm feeling the banter. This is great. About 50% now, I'm like, okay, things are starting to move. I'm here. Let's go. But people have said, wait till 30% for it to get going. And some have even said, wait till 60%. So I don't know. Maybe I just don't read enough fantasy to like really catch on to important features of a fantasy book. Or maybe it's just harder for me because the world building can be so complex. I don't know. I just hope that by next week, I've read the other 50% and I've loved it, but we'll see. We'll see. Now, the other book that I'm reading is actually a reverse harem. And if you know me well, you know that I haven't really been in my reverse harem era yet. It just hasn't happened for me. But I think that's now changed. I started reading The Pucking Coach's Daughter by S.Massery. I think I'm firmly in. I think this is the start. I think it's the start of something special. And I am so excited to say that the guest today is S.Massery herself. S.Massery, thank you so much for being with us today on the Book Tea with V. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you too.
I always start at the very beginning of a author's journey because I just always find it fascinating. And, I always do a bit of stalking on an author's website. And I did come across that you've been coming up with stories since you were very, very little. But I want to know, had you always been an avid reader? Are you still an avid reader?
Yes, I was an avid reader. I was the kind of kid in like high school, especially if the teacher stopped talking for 1 minute, my book would be out, which is, not great for a student to be doing, but my grades were fine, so it was fine. Yeah, it started with those YA romances and just kept trucking along until I accidentally got into the deeper stuff, and I was like, oh, I kind of like those.
And
Yeah,
and
so
do you find
reading.
that you like dark romance was something that you started to read? Like obviously when as you got older, was that like a genre that you found?
Yeah, I think I read this book once. My aunt was visiting us from California. We were in Massachusetts at the time. I'm in California now. Um, but yeah, she was visiting and she had this book, and it was definitely on the darker side. It was like yeah, and I was like, I like this. But I was in high school, and my mom found out I read it, and she was like, never again. It's
You're like,
fine.
little did you know.
Little did you know. She's not allowed to read my most recent stuff. She's on the banned buying list. But
Like, I can
yeah,
see why.
yeah. But I did kind of gravitate towards darker stuff. Um, out of, I think 50 Shades of Grey was probably like the turning point for a
Yeah.
lot of people, including me. So
Oh, yeah.
gateway drug. It's fine.
And do you have like 3 books that you could say are your favorite books of all time?
I'm looking over at my bookshelf here where I have my um, fancy books. Laura Thalasso's The Bargainer series is probably one of my favorite books of all time. Well, I mean, it's 3.5 books technically, so I could just say that series. But I will also say The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller is really up there. I really love that book. And another one that I'm just staring at on my bookshelf is Hostile Saint by India R. Adams.
Okay.
I cried my way through that book, but there are also really funny moments too. So it's an MC romance, but she puts such an interesting twist on it, and her writing is just so pretty. So
Was there a happy ending? Because like when I hear
there
I cried
is.
all the way through, I'm like, I'm scared. I'm scared.
Yeah, they go through some really bad trauma in like within the first page of the
Mhm.
book starting, and then their journey through it. There's just like it's a roller coaster, but yes, it does end happily ever after.
Okay, that's good because I'll write that down afterwards and be like, okay,
Hmm.
that's added to my never-ending TBR.
You should
But I also
absolutely read
came,
it.
yeah, like it sounds
Yeah.
like it. But I also came across, and this blew me away because what has always interested me, me about you as an author is when I didn't know anything about you, your profile was with a horse, and I'm a horsey
Hmm.
girl. And I was like, oh, I
Oh,
wonder what the
nice.
connection is here. And
Yeah.
then when I went on your website, I saw the words Dude Ranch. Now, as an English girl, I was like, what on earth does that mean? And then when I sort of looked into it, I was like, Yellowstone? because I'm a
Yeah,
Yellowstone girl too. So can you tell me about that experience? Because I was like,
yeah,
what is this? This seems amazing.
yeah. That was a crazy experience. So I grew up riding horses. There was a barn right down the street from my house, and I was just always kind of in it up until high school, and went to college in the city, got away from it completely, graduated, had no idea what I was going to do, like many people. And I was like, well, I had a childhood dream of working on a ranch. So a dude ranch is essentially when like city people, whatever, can come as guests to the ranch and they do like ranchy things. And then, at the end of the week, they go home and it's just a vacation essentially. And so I was like, I always wanted to work at one because I read some books, as one does, where a girl worked on a dude ranch. She was probably 14 in the book because it was YA, so, you know. Um, but I got looking into it, and there's a Dude Ranch Association, and they had like all of these like ranches that had all their job applications listed. And I was like, I'm just gonna apply, see what happens. And so I got a call back from one, was offered a job to work in an office, mind you, because I hadn't ridden a horse in probably 6 years at that point. I was like, I
Are
love
you in
horses, but yeah, yeah. So, next thing I know, I'm like going out to Wyoming. This ranch was in the middle of nowhere. Like, we flew into Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and you drive for an hour, down this like one lane dirt road to get to this ranch. There's no cell phone service, barely any Wi-Fi. It's very remote.
Mm.
But they had a herd of 60 horses, and they did like trail rides through the mountains and like a whole bunch of other activities. And it was just like such a good summer. Um, that I went back again the next year. It's like, it's fine. Responsibilities, full life job. So I went back again. And then I was like, okay, I'll get, you know, serious. But yeah, it was a really good experience. And I got to ride too. So
Oh,
that
that's so
was fun.
honestly, like I feel like if I could do anything like that, if I had the opportunity to, especially out there. Like,
Hmm.
and it sounds so ridiculous, but especially after watching Yellowstone, I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I would so do that. That would be
Yeah.
amazing. I don't think I could do as much as the hard work that's into it, like what
Hmm.
they do. But I have
Yeah.
to say, it looks like such a beautiful experience.
We showed up the first day and I didn't know what to expect because I didn't know. And I was like, I'm just gonna be working in the office. Like, what am I gonna be doing? No, we had to open up the entire ranch. Like, nobody had been there since, because you can't get to it in the winter unless you're on
Mhm.
a snowmobile. And so it was just shut down completely. And so we had to like get everything ready. And oh my gosh, the blisters on my hands.
Oh,
Um, I was like, this is one way to get in shape for sure. But yeah, it was, if you imagine like the Yellowstone scenery, it was very similar to that. We were very close to the actual Yellowstone as well. So
oh my God,
yeah.
I feel like you are living a lot of people's dreams in that. And when I came across it, I was like, it's such a cool random fact about you too.
Mm, yeah, not a lot of people would probably do that. And I met one of my still current best friends on the ranch, so
That's so
grateful for
nice.
that too. Yeah.
And I guess it wasn't too long afterwards because I know that around 2018, you had your
Hmm.
first novel out. How has your author journey been since your first book came out?
Oh gosh. It's been an interesting ride. When I first released my first book, I was looking for it, but I don't think I have it near me. Um, I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know how to
Mhm.
do anything. I was fumbling my way through. Um, and so I released one, and it didn't become the overnight success. It did not become the overnight success that I thought it was going to be. Sales went phew, and flatlined. Um, and so I wrote another one, much in the same vein, and I'm like, this is not hitting, so let's try something else.
Mhm.
And that was a little bit better. And then right before COVID, I was like, I'm just gonna write like something a little bit darker. I'm gonna go for a
Mhm.
bully romance because that was big at the time, and that did so much better than everything else. I mean, it didn't do like crazy good, but it was. a lot for me. And so I just kept going in that vein. And yeah, it just feels like I've just kind of been climbing the ladder. But Hockey Gods really helped me
Oh, yeah.
a bit. Yeah. So I'd say that was my breakout story, but couldn't have got there without Fallen Royals, which started with Wicked Dreams, which
Hmm.
I'm relaunching eventually this year.
Oh, amazing. Did you feel
Yeah.
like you'd always had the plot for your first book in your head, or it's just something that you were like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write a book, and it sort of played out as you were going?
Yeah, I had so many story ideas just like fizzle, which was, I mean, it's a little discouraging when you're trying to write a book and you're like, I've run out of plot. So this first book that I wrote, it felt big enough to carry me
Hmm.
through, and then it did. So yeah, that was encouraging. I think once you write one and then you get that confidence and you kind of figure it out. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. Is there a series or a book or a character that you've written so far that you just stands out for you in particular?
I really am attached to Fierce Obsession, which is book 5 in the Hockey
Hmm.
God series. I and also Secret Obsession. I would say those two like kind of together. The two
Uh-huh.
brothers. The journeys that they both went on like together. Um, I really like redemption arcs, although I don't often write
Yeah.
them. I feel like some my heroes like are just dark and they stay unapologetic, but Nox really needed to come around, so I was
Yes, because
very
you built us up
yeah.
to hate him. So
Yeah,
there
I
had to
did.
be an
Yeah.
element of, do I care? Do I want him to be kicked to the curb? Yes, I do. And then all of a sudden it was like,
Yeah.
no, I don't. Like,
Yeah.
what is this?
He had messed up so badly in his brother's book that it was like you're like a little too close to villain, Nox. We need to like pull you back to the good side. So I think he and Aurora accomplished that.
Hmm. And it's,
He needed her for sure.
oh, absolutely. And it's interesting because my first S.Massery book wasn't the Hockey Gods. So mine was the Fallen Royal series, which was the
Ah,
bully high school. And
yes.
that was in my bully romance era. And it was a couple of years ago. It was around that COVID time. And
Hmm.
I just was flying through them. And it was really that, like you say, it was popular at the time. And it really was. I remember for a while, that's what all I was reading.
Hmm.
Um, but I know that you've done pretty much a little bit of everything when it comes to dark romance. You've had the high school, you've got
I
mafia,
dabble.
you've got sports. You do dabble. Do you have a preferred subgenre though? Do you prefer one over the other, or you just love them all?
I I love them all enough that I can like dance around them. Like if I get a little tired of one, I can focus on the other. So
Hmm.
currently I'm working on a reverse harem, not hockey related. And but like after this I get to write a hockey book and I'm just excited for it again because I had written hockey for probably 2022 straight until the end of 2023. So I was
Hmm.
like I need a break. And I got my break and now I'm ready to go back to it again. So yeah,
And
I like them all in that I can rotate.
oh, 100%. And like, what a catalog to have as well. For
Yeah.
like, if you're sick of hockey, you can go to mafia. If you're sick of mafia, you
Hmm.
can go into bully. Like, it's a good roster to have on file. But I have to not, I can't not talk about the Hockey God series. Like, Devious Obsession is one of my favorite dark romances of all time. It's funny how different books sing for different people, but
Hmm.
that book for me, I was like, mm-hmm, that is a bit of me. And I know that for you, that series just went everywhere. It is so successful. You know, I don't think I go a day without not seeing a recommendation. And I completely understand why. Is there something that was particularly fun to write about that series or a character, which I know that you've said fierce obsession, but is there anything particularly you loved about that whole series, writing it?
Yeah, so when I wrote Brutal Obsession, that one was actually like a palette cleanser book for the Reverse Harem series I was writing at the time,
Mhm.
Sterling Falls. I wrote it between books 2 and 3. And so I was just like, I just had like the urge to write a really dark guy. And like, say yes to whatever you like come up with in your little twisted head and put it into this book and it'll be fine. And like, even if it doesn't see the light of day, it's a good thing it did see the light of day.
Yeah.
But then like going forward, I was like, okay, we need to focus. Like each guy needs a different kink, kind of. So that was fun, like picking out what would be each guy's like main thing.
Hmm.
And obviously with Steel, it was like the chasing and the CNC type of
Yeah.
vibe, which was pretty fun to write. I will
Yeah.
not lie about that one. Yeah, and I think Jacob's somnophilia was also up there for me. I like that. I like writing about that, which is I don't know what that says about me, but
Well, it's funny you say that about, you sort of trusted yourself to go as dark as you could. And I know that I've had
mhm,
previous authors say that one of their biggest things when it comes to dark romance is trust. Trust yourself. Go to that level. You might not use, what you're thinking or coming up with, but at least go there because half the time it hits with the readers.
mhm. Yeah,
And clearly
there's
it
that
did.
locker room. Yeah, there's that locker room scene in Brutal Obsession, and I was at
Hmm.
a writing retreat with a few friends, and I was writing it, and I'm like, this might be too dark. Like, it's like he's forcing her, and whatever, with Steel there, and they're like, yeah, it might be too dark. I'm like, I'm gonna write it anyway. So
And that is the go ahead I needed.
yeah, it's like check. So yeah, it works out. It's good. Yeah. I agree though that trusting yourself is a big thing.
Oh, 100%. And I guess, we've got another hockey romance from you coming out. It's
Hmm.
reverse harem though this time. And for me,
Yes.
I don't read personally a lot of reverse harem. I was a bit invested. I'm not going to lie. And Carter surprised me. The whole thing was a surprise. Like I felt like when you first meet him in the book to say 50%, I was not expecting him to be how he was. Like,
Yeah.
what did you love about this book? What can you tell us about the Pucking Coach's daughter?
Um, I
Great name,
had
by
been
the way.
hearing, yeah, thank you. I had been hearing from readers that they're like, I don't want to pick, like, because a frequently asked question of mine is which hockey god is your favorite, because everybody has a different answer.
Hmm.
And I've frequently heard, like, I don't want to pick, like, I like them all. I wish they were, like, in a harem together. And I was like, let me put my thinking
Say
cap
less.
on. So I was definitely inspired by that and like the readers wanting like because they were kind of like thinking like, oh, like what if all three of these guys or four of these guys were like focused on one girl, and like that would be a disaster, but also it's a great idea. So that's where that came from, originally started. And then I I just started at the beginning. There was where she breaks into one of their houses looking for
Hmm.
something. And I was like, girl, what are you looking for? Like, you were gonna get caught. And so it kind of
Hmm.
unraveled from there. So I loved that all their different personalities, like, that they're different. I feel
Yeah.
like you can tell them apart just by how they act around her.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was fun. Um, this is a thick book. I have the paperback here. It is quite
Oh, she
a
obviously
thick.
is.
Yeah, it's my longest book to date. Um, I think it had to be long to fit all four characters into one
Yes.
book. So,
And
yeah.
I think we needed it too. Would you say it's one of your
Hmm.
spiciest today?
I don't know. I think it's probably on par with the Hockey Gods. I don't think
Yes.
I went above and beyond.
It's just
Maybe.
that we get it 3 times over
Yeah, 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 yeah.
level,
You get it
but
in different varieties.
3 different fonts.
Yeah, exactly.
So we've got The Pucking Coach's Daughter coming out, and this
Mhm.
podcast is released on the week of. So I'm so excited to see other people's thoughts. Is it always a bit nerve-wracking when a release comes out? Or do you just shut yourself away? Do you
Mhm.
have like a ritual that you have when a book comes out?
I don't have a ritual. I feel like I should make one, but I don't have anything. I usually just alternate between like keeping myself distracted away from screens or
Yes.
working or obsessively checking everything. So there's I kind of oscillate between the three. We'll see what I'll be doing on Tuesday. I don't know.
And
If
like I
you see
said,
me,
I'm gonna
wish me well.
I'm gonna check in. I'll message you and check in and be like, I'm just checking in. Is everything okay?
It's a bit nerve-wracking. It doesn't get, I wouldn't say it's as bad as the first time I put out a book. That was definitely the worst, but the more anticipation there is for a release, the more I'm like, I hope it's okay.
And I guess that scheduling for an author, everyone as like readers, we know that we've got The Packing Coach's Daughter coming out. But if I know anything about authors, you might have one in the pipeline right now. You might be
Hmm.
currently writing, and I'm cheeky. I'm going to go there. I'm going to be like,
Yeah.
so what's next? Literally just finished the latest one, and I'm like, so what else do you have planned then? What's
When are
going
you
on?
giving me something new?
Give me
Yes.
something.
So the next one out is going to be Wicked Dreams.
Hmm.
I massively rewrote it and added about 25,000 words to it, so
Wow.
it's a much chunkier story now.
Yeah.
Um, I'm working on Wicked Games right now, which is book two in the Fallen Royal series. So
Hmm.
books one, two, and three will come out probably in the next few months, and then we'll have a hockey book next that I haven't started yet, and that's Camden Church from the Hockey Gods. And I'm also working on my next Reverse Harem series, which is a spin-off of Sterling Falls. If you're familiar with that, it is Apollo, the hero's twin sister, Artemis. And I'm writing book two currently, so there's
Busy.
been a lot
You are
going on.
busy. But
Yeah,
like as
I'm
a
ready for
as
a
a reader,
little vacation. Yeah.
it's like music to our ears. Vacation can wait.
Yeah. It was
We're so
funny.
good.
I went into this year thinking like, okay, I'm gonna have the Pucking Coach's Daughter and probably like nothing until Camden Church's book come out, and I'm like, oh
Mhm.
wait, I have a whole trilogy too. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's so
it's fine.
exciting though.
Yeah, we got a little busy there for a
Mhm.
minute.
But I
Who
think
needs
that
sleep?
no. You've got plenty of time for some time off. There's, go back to the Dude Ranch if you need it, and I'll join you.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. Just
Oh
let
yeah.
me know.
Let's do it.
Is there anywhere that people can see you within like the next 18 months? I know that there's so many conventions coming up, so many places. Are you confirmed to sign anywhere that we can come and see you?
Yeah. Yes. I'm busy with a capital B. I'm just gonna hit you with a list.
Oh
Here, let's see
yeah.
if I get it right. Um, for US people, I'm gonna be at three Barnes and Nobles in September. Florence, South Carolina, Spokane, Washington, and then Maumee, Ohio.
Hmm.
And then I'm going to Love in Vegas in October in
Amazing.
Vegas. And then I'm going to Wild and Windy West in Phoenix, Arizona
Hmm.
in February. And then, oh gosh, there's something else. Wild and Windy Chicago.
Hmm.
I think it's just called Wild and Windy in Chicago. And that's in May. And then I'll be going to Australia for Babe in May, also, like May, June. And there's something else. I'll be back in Denver for Rocky Mountain Readers Retreat,
Okay.
September like 5 to 7, I think. There's one more that hasn't been announced, so I'm not gonna say that. That's in
Fair enough.
October. Yeah, so that's about a year. That's about a year. I think we're good there. There's some 2026 ones too, but
It's huge. That's like, but in between writing, do you find that you do need some downtime between them all? Because if there's anything I know as a reader, they are exhausting, like in the best
Mhm.
possible way. Like they are so much fun, but because they go for a couple of days and you're trying to get so much into it, I feel like I need like 3 business days to recoup. Do you
Sure.
try to work out and be like, okay, I have this event on, I'm not gonna write, I need like 2 days to just wind down?
Yeah, I think after the travel day also sucks too. Like I need a recovery day from traveling, and then I'm like, I don't want to see people. I don't want to open my mouth. Like I'll talk to my dog, and that's about it. Yeah, it is. It is a lot, but it's fun, and I
Yeah.
love being in it. When I'm in it, and like when I'm there, I'm like, let's go, let's do all the things, meet all the people, sign all the books, and whatever. So they're fun. But yeah, then I come home and I'm like, oh, just crashing.
Because there's so many emotions, and there must be so many emotions
Mhm.
for you as an author. Like there's so many people that are coming to you being like, "Wow, like your books are amazing. I love this book." And having the chat like whose favorite character is who as well. Like
Mhm.
having those conversations and be like, "Oh wow, really him?" And it must just be so funny. Everyone's got just such a different perspective
Yeah.
on it, but I think that's what makes it so magical for whatever, whoever you are as an author. Like that must be a real pinch me moment when you've got a
Yeah.
line of people just dying to talk to you about your books that you've written.
Yeah, it's surreal. I feel very grateful that people like will even stand in line to talk to me because that's crazy. I just feel like a normal person who just happens to write some books. Um, but yeah, getting to meet readers is definitely the favorite thing. If I didn't like that part of it, I just wouldn't do signings, but like I look forward to that the most. And it's worth
Yeah.
the struggle of like figuring out logistics of shipping books to the event
Hmm.
and everything else that goes into it behind the scenes, but the readers make it worth it 1000%.
Oh, that's really nice to hear. And like, it brings me to my last question, actually, because what is there something that you do or a hobby that you have that isn't anything to do with writing or reading that's your go-to thing to do when you're not in the writing cave?
I just picked up a new hobby because previously I didn't have a good answer to this and I was like I don't know what I do. And I needed something.
You exist.
So I yeah, I just sit there. So I just started to learn how to play the cello, which yeah.
I was not
So
expecting that answer. Out of
I
everything you've said,
yeah, I grew up playing the piano and it was like okay, but I wasn't totally into it. But the cello has always captured my fascination and I was like, now is the time to do it. So one of my friends gives lessons and so I'm renting a cello from them and taking lessons and the first time I played it, I was like a giddy child. I was like, this is the best day ever.
that is
So
so exciting. And how
yeah.
are you finding it? Because they say like as a child, it's so much easier to pick up instruments or
hmm
languages. Are you finding that you're loving it, like you're getting into it quite easy, or are you finding it quite challenging?
Luckily, I kind of remember how to read music from
Mhm.
piano, so um, I don't know. You just practice like a little bit every day, and it's like learning a new skill. I mean, I feel like I don't want to jinx myself, and I don't want them to listen to it and be like, no, she sucks. But I feel like I'm picking it up okay. I've only had 2 lessons so far, and I'm doing my best.
I love it. Look, we'll probably S.Massery, you can hire her for weddings in a minute.
Booking
That'll
in
be a new
2035.
booking in now.
Oh gosh, get your deposits in early.
Yeah. Honestly, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. It's been such a pleasure to speak with you. As usual, I'm going to be as cheeky as I can, take this offline and try and just drag out some more spoilers for myself and
Let's do it.
see what I
Thank you
can
for
come up with.
having me.
Of course, any time. Thank you so much. I love S.Massery. She is such a vibe. And honestly, if you haven't read any S.Massery books yet, you absolutely must. Check your trigger warnings. But the Hockey God series, one of my favorites, and the Pucking Coach's Daughter, you're in for a wild time. And she might think I'm joking, but I'm going to book her for my wedding. She's going to be playing the cello beautifully while I walk down the aisle somewhere in Italy. I mean, look, Knowing me, this might be years away. However, she just needs to know she's on standby. Okay, so let's get into the books that you need to be aware of this week. And of course, I'm going to mention The Bonus by TL Swan. It's out on the 13th of August. It is amazing. 5-star read for me. I highly, highly recommend it. And then we have a sports romance coming out on the 4th of August. It's by Fallon Greer and it's called The Players Club. And then last but not least, one of my favorite authors, Michelle Hurd, she is bringing out God of Vengeance, and that is going to be out on the 26th of August. So yeah, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And as always, if you want to get in touch, I'm at V Reads on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. That's the tea this week.